Hello, everyone, and welcome back to One Soccer. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming. I am joined by my colleague, Alex Gonge-Bruzik, and today, Canada has scheduled a friendly against Japan. It will take place on October 13th. So Alex and I are going to sit down today and discuss 5 players who are best suited to use the start of this season or the end of their current season to push for one of those places in that 23-man squad to take on Japan. So, Alex, we are going to start with one of your boys, Ali Ahmed. Great positioning right now for him to get into the national team because it looks like John Herman could start experimenting with a 3-man midfield. You and I have talked about it plenty of times with what he did at the Gold Cup. Ahmed, Eustachio, Kone. It's lovely. And on top of that, he's playing some fantastic football with the Whitecaps, who just added Richie Larea, Sam Adekubi. The situation couldn't be any better for Ali Ahmed to basically, hopefully, lock up a spot in that window.
Absolutely ready, and that was the point of a Gold Cup. You get a bit more of an experimental squad. Some of these players, like an Ahmed, in great form at club level, gets a chance for country. He thrives. Well, then in that case, a fair reward is a chance to play. With the entire, when everyone's available, the first team, if you want to, so to say it. And it would be fascinating just because we've mentioned Canada's need for more midfielders. Playing a 3, what it would do for them in the international level, how Kone and Eustachio are there, but they kind of need a third. We've said if it's a number 6, great, you play Eustachio and Kone is 8, but also Eustachio can play the 6. Ahmed, he just fits that 8 role so nicely. So yeah, it's a nice combination of a reward for club form, a reward for his performance at the Gold Cup. So hopefully, yeah, he keeps this up with the Whitecaps, and if he does, he absolutely feels like someone who could hop into this camp. And it's just the rise he's on is something where the next logical step is an opportunity like this.
And I'm giving Alex full credit. I remember him telling me, he's like, Josh, keep an eye on Ali Ahmed. You've told me it for a long time now, probably 4 or 5 months even before the Gold Cup. You're like, watch this kid. You were right. He made the squad and he balled out. And I'm just picturing him solidifying himself in that 3-man midfield with a Kone. And then Eustachio's, hey, you're a 6. It is what it is. But I do also want to take a look in the Gold Cup. There wasn't a lot of great moments, but what I really liked was that kind of trio that was created between Bombito and that kind of half he played on the outside right center back, Richie Larea at right wing back, and then Ali Ahmed, who kind of drifted in. They created a lot of good movement, a lot of overruns. And honestly, I'm picturing like an Alistair Johnson going in there instead of Bombito, a player who does like to push up the pitch. And can you imagine that little triangle right there with Ali Ahmed, Richie Larea, who they're going to get chemistry at club level, and then you have an Alistair Johnson who likes bombing up the pitch like that for those overlapping runs, underlapping runs. There's just, for me, there's something brewing between those 3.
Tajon Buchanan also isn't a bad option either if you want to throw him in the mix. So yeah, I think it's something where just Ahmed's mix of technical ability, his intelligence to read the game, and then speed would just mesh nicely with all those options. So yeah, there's just Ahmed feels like he ticks so many boxes too. I think another big thing was just how quickly he adapted to the system. We see that sometimes where players can be in camps for a while, they don't maybe get minutes, they're not used to the system, or even when they play, they kind of struggle to grasp the system. That's another big thing too that Ahmed, impressed just with how quickly he just grasped a new system. Looked like he'd been playing for Canada for a year. So yeah, you can only just imagine what he would do with some of those that talent, that caliber of player around him, just raising his game, because that's what he's done all year. He's raised his game to the level, and that next step would just I'd love to see what playing with the Kone, a Eustachio, a Buchanan, Larea, Johnston, Davies, David. Just I want to see how he does in that sort of environment, and if he can make that step up, then watch out.
We are going to stick in the midfield for this next player, and that's Mathieu Choiniere. This is a player a lot of us thought was going to be the start of the Gold Cup. It ended up, in my eyes, being Ali Ahmed. So the fact that Choiniere did kind of try to get called up late, but with the injury and whatnot, he wasn't able to. He's been a great player, versatile player for CF Montreal. I think he's just right on the cusp of maybe getting that opportunity with the national team. And the fact that we talked about a 3-man midfield in this 3-5-2 system that Herman's going with, there's an opportunity there for someone, whether it's Choiniere, whether it's Ali Ahmed. But how important and how well positioned do you think Choiniere is to potentially finally earning that call?
It feels like it's overdue in his case. You want to see him get that chance. And, especially from his perspective, it felt like for Choiniere, he was that lock, that next guy up in midfield, and he doesn't get that opportunity. And someone like Ahmed bursts on the scene, right? You feel for Choiniere in that sense that you just want to see him get that shot. So I think it'd be fun to have both of them compete. I think Choiniere and Ahmed, they got intriguing enough profiles where they could complement each other. And just looking at Choiniere, for me, what stands out is just he seems like a coach's dream, just so cerebral. You've heard Hernan Losada talk about how important he is to that Montreal squad. This is a guy who came out of the Montreal Academy as a winger, gets shifted to a wing back under Wilfred Netz. He does such a good job there. Then they need midfielders. He becomes a central midfielder like that. Like, this is a winger a few years ago, and he looks like he's been playing midfield his whole life. He's so versatile. He's fit as as fit as a fiddle, as they like to say, right? Just because he can run for days, for hours, for weeks without stopping. Just all of the qualities you want in a midfielder. A good passer as well, reads the game well. You may as well give him a look. And I think that it's, for me, the versatility and the work rate are the two things that would stand out, because he's got the talent, no doubt. I mean, I think it's something where, with the level he's playing at, absolutely should get a look with Canada. And I think his mix of intelligence, fitness, work rate, all that could help him stand out, perhaps, if he gets an opportunity with Canada.
Choiniere's loss was absolutely Ahmed's game in that Gold Cup. It's a shame because, like you said, I feel like he deserved to get called up to the A squad, let alone like the B squad we sent to the Gold Cup. So he's an engine for that Montreal midfield. I hope that he does get this call, and I hope that he can take this opportunity, because it's a good kid, and he definitely, in my eyes, it's about time it finally comes. But now we're going to move along to Derek Cornelius. And Derek Cornelius is not new to this national team, Alex, but it seems like, again, we're talking about positioning and where you are with your club and how it can kind of translate over the national team. It seems like Derek Cornelius is perfectly positioned right now in Sweden with Malmo to continue to grow on his fantastic start, and then maybe become that guy for the national team in that back three we play. I think you can even debate whether he plays in the central of the back three or out on the left-hand side. I was so disappointed, I know you were too, to see him not be able to compete in that Gold Cup. So with a big Copa America on the horizon, how important is Derek Cornelius' progression in Europe to the national team?
It's absolutely huge. And I think it's the again, for Canada, it's just such a huge loss that he wasn't able to play in the Nations League and the Gold Cup with an injury. And it's huge because he spent so much time talking about Canada's center back situation, the need for more center backs. Cornelius is a fascinating story, right? Goes to Panathinaikos, really establishes himself, goes to Malmo, which is a big club. Like, it can't be understated. I will say it over and over. Malmo is a big club. He immediately slots in seamlessly, heart of the back three, a clear leader there, making huge interventions, helping Malmo, keep clean sheets, push up the table. And that's just, I'm looking at Canada. That's everything that you want, right? The Steven Vittorio replacement. Tick. He's been playing centrally for Malmo. Just someone who's growing a lot as a leader. Boom. Because earlier in his career, Cornelius, he's a bit of a shyer defender. He's not someone who was always vocal. He was also new to the position. He started a bit later in his teens. Now he's seeing that vocal, that leadership. So boom, that's another box ticked. He's familiar with Canada. He's been playing them for over a half decade now. So he has that familiarity. Everything's primed for him to step up and become that guy in the heart of Canada's defense and kind of build around him, right? Have maybe a Kamal Miller or Scott Kennedy on the left. Maybe if you go with an Alistair Johnson or a Moise Bombino on the right. But really, Cornelius is set up for him to be the guy. He's playing at a top level. He's got that familiarity. I just want to see him take what he's learned over the last year, because we haven't seen him in so long, start for Canada, and just show just how much he's grown and why he's someone to keep an eye on going forward.
Yeah, Alex, you make a good point, and I want Derek Cornelius to be a type of Alistair Johnston player to John Herman. Johnston can play on the outside right center back, as a right back, as a wing back. He can be used in different roles. Cornelius will obviously be used in the back line, but if it's a back three, maybe if it's Kamal Miller who's playing on the outside left, then you slot Cornelius in the middle of that back three. Or if it's a Zach McGraw who takes big steps and he goes in the central center back position, well, then it's Cornelius who goes out to the outside left. I just feel like he's done enough to be able to, when you're putting kind of your defenders and your players into that starting 11, I want Cornelius to be one of those players in pen. Now, another player who has been on the outside of this national team for a while and is maybe time to make an appearance again is Theo Corbeanu. Now, this is a player that we've been hyped about for a very long time. He was a part of the Wolves, but obviously had spent some time out on loan. He did some good work in the championship last year, but he's had several different loan moves. This loan move looks like it's panning out right now, Alex. 3 matches right now for Grasshopper, 3 assists, and beautiful assists, by the way. He's starting to finally show that potential that got us so excited when he decided to represent the Canadian national team and not Romania. How far do you think he is away from potentially breaking through to the national team?
I feel like he's getting closer, and I think he's an interesting one because he's an example of the sort of moves that you want your young players to take to Europe, right? It's if you're going to be going to Europe, take a risk, go to a club where you're going to get minutes. Maybe Grasshopper. It's not, say, just in Switzerland alone. It's not one of the giants. It's not going to be someone that's expected to contend for trophies, but he's developing, he's playing in week out at a good level, and he's reaping the rewards of it already, and hopefully he can continue because that's what you want, right? If you're going to make that jump to Europe, we see it now where maybe a few years ago it was as much as Europe or bust, but sometimes, as we see, not every situation is perfect, but you need minutes, you need a chance to develop. And I think we're seeing clear growth in Corbeanu's game, this creativity, that spark he can bring down the wide areas. We know he can score as well, so it'll be exciting to see if he can get back to that as part of his game and just continue to add other things: work rate, ball retention, possession, etc. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see where he fits in the Canadian fold, because again, it's a kind of moves that John Herdman wants from his Canadian players, and it'll be a good, poster boy of what he wants some of these guys maybe in MLS to do, or some of these guys in Europe who are maybe, stuck at bigger clubs and not playing as much. Take that risk, go on loan, get those minutes, improve yourself. And as for where he fits with Canada, they haven't really been playing with wingers, so it'll be hard to see if there's a direct fit for him. But if he pops off, if Liam Miller pops off, heck, if there's some world where John Herdman gets Luca Koleosho to come back and give Canada, a go permanently, etc., then maybe Canada could consider playing wingers, especially if you want to play Alphonso Davies there, if you want to play Tejan Buchanan there. There are options to play with wingers if need be. So in terms of Corbeanu, if he can continue to play well and continue to push into the fold, maybe he does well enough where he convinces Herdman to have a look at wingers. Maybe a 4-3-3 with a 3-player midfield could be the options, especially if someone like a Cornelius as well steps up to a point where you're confident with him anchoring a back four with the partner, right? So it's something where the options could materialize, and if Corbeanu keeps up his form, he's going to have to maintain this over a season and build from there. But this is sort of form you need to start those sort of discussions.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. More than likely, it'll be an impact player, because there are a lot of wingers that have been used recently coming off the bench. I mean, we saw what Schaffelberg did. Liam Miller could be one of those players. Corbeanu, when he played for the national team, scored a goal coming off the bench. It's definitely, he needs to show something at club level where John Herdman's like, you know what, maybe I don't play that system where he will start, but come off the bench, if I need some creativity, I need something to bring some energy, he's the kind of guy I want to see. And another player who actually will probably be in that debate as well is our next player, and that's Jayden Nelson. Jayden Nelson, very young, raw player with TFC. He got his move to Europe right now. He's in Norway. He's competing. He just scored his first European goal. Very excited stuff with Jayden Nelson. And I think that from what we saw at him at the Gold Cup, he, obviously came off the bench early in that match, scored a goal. He's got a spark to him. And I think I told that to you in one of our morning after streams. I said, Alex, I like what this kid brought on, because maybe there's a little bit of work to do defensively, but going forward, he loves running with the ball. He's got crazy speed, and he's a very creative player. So someone, again, like I said, maybe doesn't fit the 3-5-2 that John Herdman wants to play in. But the fact is, when push comes to shove and he needs something like a spark of some sort, Jayden Nelson could be a good option for him.
Absolutely. And again, to the earlier point with Corbeanu, another example of a great European move. He's in MLS, Nelson, and Toronto FC doesn't like the situation there, makes that move to Europe, and he finds a club at a good level. Rosenborg is relatively big club in Norway. Norway is a good league, and just gets minutes and improves his craft. And we're really seeing him shine. He can play a bit in midfield now. He can play out wide. You can help your attack. That versatility is also going to be huge for Herdman. So absolutely, I think it's something where versatile attackers, you can never have too much of them, especially in terms of depth. In Canada, we'll be able to use that given the level he's playing at. So exciting to see, especially the thing with Nelson that's so easy to forget, because he's been with Toronto for a while. He's made this move. He's still super young. Like, he's someone where this is someone who's turned 20 this year, or is about to turn 20 this year. Like, again, that's someone who he's already accomplished so much for his age. So the development's really just starting. And yeah, I think it's something where you want to see him take that step up to the national team level, because he hasn't really had a look beyond this Gold Cup and a few cameos here and there where he was a late call-in. But now with this form, he certainly deserves a look, and maybe he can be an option as that third midfielder that we talk about Canada looking for. Maybe he can be an option as one of the attack strikers off the bench. Maybe he goes back to his wing position in Canada, starts playing with wingers again. Like, there's just so many options with him too. And again, Herdman loves that versatility. It seems like a good fit.
I want to give him credit too, because we talk about players making that jump to Europe and not panning out. I mean, like we just talked earlier in Canadians abroad, obviously with Liam Fraser not being able to really pan out in Europe, he had to go back to Major League Soccer. But I mean, Richard Larrea is another player who did it, but Jayden Nelson made this move to Norway, and he's found his way already in the starting 11, and he's producing. And at this young age, hopefully he just keeps developing, and then maybe he gets another jump within a bigger league in Europe. So it's really exciting things to see for Jayden Nelson. Alex, we do have one more surprise for everyone. We did touch on those 5 players right there, but we have a bonus player. Do you want to let the viewers know who it is?
Absolutely. I mean, we the thing is with friendlies, they provide an interesting opportunity. You can, bring in players who maybe if it was a competitive match, they might not see the field. With friendlies, you can get a chance to see some new faces, maybe some younger faces. The one we're keeping an eye on right now is Luc de Fougerolles. He currently is at Fulham. Last year, he signed to be a Fulham player in the Premier League. Of course, he's just 17, so who knows where he'll end up this year. Likely, he gets some good seasoning and with their second team, maybe get some calls up to the first team here and there. It's be on the bench to maybe get some spot minutes, but he has been impressing in preseason with Fulham. And what's been interesting is that he's a midfielder. Right? He's a midfielder fullback, and they slot him in as a right center back. And playing against Premier League level teams, he has not looked out of place. And I mean, again, you hear words Canadian center back, Fulham, Premier League, those sorts of things. Your ears perk up, and he's a fascinating one just because he hasn't represented any other countries. You got a call to Canada as under 20s. Great story, like Josh has mentioned in the past. He had an exam because he's still in school. He couldn't miss his exams, couldn't go get that call for Canada. So it's one of those where there's no cap ties here. There's no switches. There's none of that complicated stuff. He could come in, he could train, he could even play in the friendlies, and you're not affecting his national team future. So if you have an opportunity like this, may as well take it, may as well get a look, because you have to plan for 26. And he's maybe someone where at 17, not yet broken into the first team, he won't be, someone you're looking at next year right away, like starting the Copa America. But he has the potential that if all goes right, you could be looking at that. If not, maybe in 2-3 years, he's a guy who could be starting free, and you may as well get in early on that one.
It's a happy accident because, he was looked at as a left back, right back type of player, and all of a sudden they move him in preseason to the center back role, and he thrived. He just played against Chelsea FC. He's played against some big hitters in preseason, and he's looked incredible. Fulham fans on social media absolutely adore him right now. And the fact is, like we said, he's 17, and the World Cup is coming up in 2026, and center back is a position of need. This could be a very happy coincidence that the fact that he just kind of got shoved out there in preseason as a center back and absolutely took advantage of it. And for a 17-year-old, my biggest takeaway from him, from what I've watched, is the fact that he's just unbelievably comfortable on the ball. It's what you like to see. Modern center back, people play out of the back. I can't wait to see how his future progresses, and hopefully, there's an opportunity for him to maybe feature for Canada against Japan. But those are the players, guys, we went through that we hope can potentially feature and get in that Japan match, maybe use this season as an opportunity to at least get on the radar for John Herdman. Let us know in the comments, as always, if we missed anyone. And if you enjoyed this episode, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub. We'll see you soon. Cheers, friends.